Hey everybody, welcome to questions, comments, concerns for episode 4 of Threshold Relics of the Homeland. Everybody, questions, comments, concerns. This was kind of a weird episode.
I love this episode.
Town time is like my favorite thing. I know it was kind of weird because you guys didn't get to play off of each other very much, but
That was awesome.
I think we learned a lot about the world. Yeah, I think we learned a lot about the world and the characters themselves, so I was really happy.
Sort of a little window into, because we sort of got, rather than a slow introduction of like meeting the party, this was sort of like it's sort of a reversal on the let's meet the party one at a time. Like as the party forms, you typically meet them and it's like, oh, I'm the rogue, like I'm stealing stuff. This is sort of like the beginning town time stuff that we just sort of moved to the middle. And so like this would be the point in the adventure where normally we would all go to the inn to meet up, right? After we all did these about town things. But it's sort of interesting to sort of see our skill set as we work as professionals and then see like just sort of the way that Vox differs from Guerra, like with and their different goals and like the things that they want and the different habits that and where they live even. I was surprised we saw Azalea.
Yeah, that's it's part of the reason Domus Batrum's big. Most of the
Yeah, I thought it was. It's kind of continued the theme of us being this like not being a party really, but being like individuals, individual professionals that were hired to do a job. Job's over, going back to doing our own life, our own things, with the like standing order to come back the next day, but. We're not buddy with each other. It's not like
we're not like
let's all get the same rooms in the inn.
No, exactly.
Who wants to split a room with me? Strangers that I met half a day ago.
Yeah.
No, it felt very live and laugh in the Homeland and going back to your own bed.
It was really nice as a player to see all of this too, because before we recorded this session today, we all talked about our characters and we were trying to get a better sense of who each other is and everything. And so this session in particular was very much like, okay, this is what this character is like, and just from a player standpoint, that I think that'll help. Like the next session, where it's just like I have a bit more insight into what each person is now.
Yeah.
Right, sort of some of the mannerisms we may not describe outwardly, but you can sort of infer, even though our players don't necessarily know what the other was doing. Like it's sort of like I know now that like.
Yeah, you can make a more informed decision on who the other people are with.
Right. It's weird, but being able to have that communication with the Sending Stone changed a lot about Tiff.
Really?
Yeah. I've been kind of thinking, like we were saying before we started the session. I was really struggling with like what is Tiff's whole thing, like what's her whole backstory and everything, and now I think I have it mostly figured out. And the Sending Stone really became a pivotal point in it that I'll talk to you later.
Great.
But it changed a lot about her in my mind as to what her wants are. So we'll see. Like because she's trying to balance this. My wants versus the wants of the church, and how do you balance that without stepping over one or the other?
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed this. It was able for me to really, I think for all of us, to create this is who our characters are. This is who we are. So now we can, when we get back together again as a party, it will be I think a very different party because we all now kind of have a better understanding of who our characters are. So now when they interact with each other, they can stand alone as each other within the party.
Yeah, I'm really excited for next session and getting everybody back together and
me
stuff.
Too.
Thank you all for being sports and staying engaged. Like I know one of the most challenging things in a session like this is it's really easy for the phones to come out or the minds to start wandering when you're not in the scene, especially when I have to jump between 4 other people before it might get back to you. So thank you all for staying focused. I know that's not even, we're in sort of a unique position because we're on camera and stuff here and everybody's a little more dialed in. But everybody feels a little more guilty if they're that guy who's doodling in the margins.
There's evidence.
Yeah, exactly. I can go back, but
it was like fascinating to
Yeah.
like, hearing other people's
Yeah, and I think
like,
that's-
I wasn't like bored with other people's experiences. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I think that also helps too. Like, there was no combat, so I think that helped because it's really easy. Like, it's easy to disengage when it's not your turn in combat, but when it's not even a combat you're in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like someone like I think that's an important thing for splits like this. Actually, is like you really don't want to do a combat that over half your table isn't involved in, because then they have to sit through a combat.
Or just make sure that it goes
Yeah.
real fast.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
they have to do like I didn't even want to like I threw a few poltergeist things at you, and I didn't even want to make you roll for that because it was like whatever. Plus,
Yeah.
it helps show how competent Ferrex is still. So,
No, I thought like the way that you sort of like did the beats for everyone, I thought that worked really well. Like it felt like an episode of like a
cool. Yeah, I was
TV
trying
show
to
or
kind of
something.
hit logical lulls and stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for rolling with that and doing such a great job. And that was awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think where this episode really succeeds is, because Steven said earlier, it's usually when you begin the party forms, and you have this. This
Yeah.
is what happens when the party forms.
This is like
Yeah.
a million
I
first
really
sessions of a campaign.
Didn't want to. Yeah, like I did a lot of thinking about just. I really didn't want to do that with this. I
Right.
still wanted to have it so we could figure out the characters, but
It's
I
so
didn't
much
want
more
to start with
interesting
it.
this way.
Well, this way, and it keeps people engaged, right? Like, we had,
Mhm.
3 previous sessions where we weren't quite sure who we are, we weren't quite sure what our characters were, but we do have a solid understanding of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I have a solid understanding of what I'm doing. Now I get to see who everyone is.
Which, when you think about it, it's a lot of TV shows that start like in Medeiros Res and all of that stuff. That's a lot of how it works. Is you have them doing something that they do, and then
Yeah.
know,
something exciting.
yeah, you do a pilot episode where people are doing basically what the main function is that they do, and then you fill in the backstories
Yeah.
after that,
Right.
which I think is pretty effective.
It is.
Like Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much like
Yeah.
I was hoping just for Ferrex, I was hoping to see a little bit more of his outsiderness.
Okay.
Um,
I kind of
just like he still, even in the slummiest part inside of elven culture, I sort of feel like he sticks out.
Mhm.
And so I was hoping maybe to see a little bit more of that. Obviously, if it would have been easier to do if we were together.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was fun to sort of like figure out, okay, you never see that we never get to do that very often in campaigns where you get to figure out like what is this person's home life, what do they do for fun, and like what kind of like a lot of these adventures I imagine would lead like I think that Ferrex is probably the most adventure-y of us,
Yeah, probably.
like the most of
Yeah.
their standard typical adventure,
Most
and
worldly.
they have really sad lives adventurers.
Yeah.
Like they're always out either murdering, like they have stuff, but it's also really sad because they don't have connection or that kind of thing.
Yeah, they tend to be kind of disconnected from
loners.
communities and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's why parties in general kind of form, is like it's like a bunch of outsiders getting together,
A bunch of orphans.
which is why
Orphan good drow.
yeah,
Release
all
them
of
with somebody.
all the orphan good drow, drow rangers, all of them.
With a wolf and 2 swords.
Yes, it's a panther. Okay. Anybody else have anything? I had a lot of fun.
I had
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of the game is just kind of the role play,
Yeah,
hardcore role play stuff.
awesome.
And I think we really needed it. I think that as a party, like we needed this time to kind of figure out ourselves and like us as players seeing what everybody else's personality is like.
I expected to be able to talk to my dad, and so I love the fact that I could, like that was like a great moment because it was like both character and player. I was just like, oh, like I really want to talk to my dad. Like,
Yeah, you seemed very disappointed. So.
yeah, so it was like perfect. So I don't know, that was an awesome moment.
God, yeah. Toss had. I feel bad for Toss now. Like,
Well,
he's so sad.
Now I'm
I-
concerned because I don't want to like
No, it's
overplay it. Like he's supposed to be like sort of tragic.
it's a tough life for him to live right now.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, just
You're trying to live in a culture that's not designed
Yeah.
for you to.
They're-
That biologically,
yeah,
you're
they
not designed to live in.
functionally,
Exactly.
like biologically work different than you do.
Right.
Which is why, half elves super rare in elven culture. They tend to gravitate. Like even the ones born on the Homeland typically jump ship and go go live with humans instead because they
Right.
just integrate
Go to
better.
Sherryton.
Yeah, I just as long as I just don't want to like overplay it. Like
I think you're doing fine.
I don't want to be like an emo elf.
No,
It doesn't come across that way.
No, and I love the bug.
I do like that it's sort of, even though Ferrex and Toss are sort of opposed, they sort of almost have the most similar
Yeah.
like living conditions in
Yeah.
a way.
We really, yeah.
Like they are the most similar, but they're
I imagine
also-
that sort of starts to
yeah. Oh,
be
de-
seen over
definitely.
I'm looking forward to this. Anyway, I think that's good. Thank you, everybody, for watching Questions, Comments, Concerns for Relics of the Homeland Episode 4. I'll see you tomorrow for Afterwards. Please be sure to subscribe and Patreon and Twitter and all of those things because we very much appreciate any of those that you're willing to throw our way. And I'll see you tomorrow for Afterwards and next week for Episode 5. Woo! 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 Bye.